Have you ever wondered what it would be like to find your own little slice of utopia? Well, today's guest is going to tell us how to do that, and we're going to talk about her brand new book. I'm Cameron. I spent years building my career and creating a life I loved. And when my Prince Charming finally showed up, he had 4 kids in tow. Fast forward through lots of mistakes made and lessons learned, step-family life was much more complicated than I realized. If you're looking for help with blended family life, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Stepmom Diaries, where we keep it real as we dish about all the things. This is your weekly dose of blended family inspiration and encouragement. You're not the wicked stepmother, so let me help you find your fairy tale ending. Come on, let's do this. Hello, and I'm so excited about today's guest. We have with us Jo Dodd, who has written a really fun new book. We're going to talk about that and lots of stuff today. But I'm really excited for you guys to meet Jo. Jo is originally from England, and I will tell you, as we talk to her today, her voice just like calms you. It's really, I love the English accent, Jo. But she has been in the States for, I don't know, over 25 years. Is that right, Jo?
Yes.
Is a mom to 4 boys and worked in corporate America for about 25 years and got overwhelmed, was furloughed, and then completely changed her life. Began a writer, got her coaching certificate, and now coaches women and has written some amazing children's books and now a new book for moms. So, Jo, welcome. I'm so happy you're here.
Thanks, Cameron. I'm really happy to be here.
So I just sort of gave the nutshell of your background. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit more. It's interesting because last week's guest, Nikki Oden, we talked with her a lot about sort of the mom overwhelm and like losing yourself in the role. And you had a similar experience. Tell us about that and kind of what it was that made you get into the coaching world that you're in now.
Yeah, thank you. So it really goes back to the beginning. Like you said, I've been here in the States 27 years now. When I came over, I was an intern in my early 20s and quite frankly was expecting to come to the States, do a year, and then go back home. And that all changed when I, of course, met a man. So I met my now husband.
Always a guy.
Always a guy's fault, yeah. And quite honestly, just to be very transparent, so I was in my early 20s, got pregnant, got married, yes, that way around, and was thrown into this like, oh my goodness, I'm now a mum. I'm thousands of miles away from my family. This was before cell phones, like I'm really dating myself, but it was. Oh,
I'm with you, sister.
And writing letters was the only way I had to sort of communicate with my family. And that was my starting point as a mum. And so we now, roll forward, I now have 4 boys still with my husband. It's been an incredible journey, the 2 of us. It's been very much a roller coaster. But we're really proud to have kind of got, I think most of the big ups and downs have gone now, and we're just kind of cruising. But now we have, a 25-year-old, a 19-year-old, and then we have 2 younger. We have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. But it was in that process of like literally sort of being thrown into like, I'm a mom in my early 20s. And then we had no money. Neither of us knew really what we wanted to do in life. And so it was like I jumped into the corporate world and just got on that hamster wheel and just kept going, just trying to improve my financial situation, trying to, elevate my career, trying to be the best mom I could possibly be, trying to be a good wife, no idea what that really was, so it was like all this stuff just compounded on each other to the point where I didn't even recognize myself anymore, but I didn't know that I didn't recognize myself, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I feel like I talk to a lot of stepmoms that have this happen. It's like you get kind of what happened to you because you were at such a young age. You kind of get thrown into the deep end of the pool in parenthood and motherhood and stepmotherhood. And you're doing everything you can to stay afloat. And then all of a sudden you realize like, you don't know how long you've been there or how deep the water is or,
Right.
what's happening around you or any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And for me, it was 2020, it was COVID, and I got furloughed, as you mentioned. And really, like, I didn't know how to exist without being in that chaos, like in that constant overwhelm, that constant chaos that was my life. I didn't know how to exist. And that was really eye-opening for me to be like, what is it that I'm doing? Like, who am I? Apart from being mum, who am I? And what is it? Because I knew I wasn't happy in my career in corporate America. I loved the people I worked with. I had a team. I led a learning and development team. I loved aspects of my job, but I knew it wasn't me. I knew that there was something more, but I never had the time before to kind of delve into that and figure out what it was. And so honestly, like for the first, I would say, good month of furlough, I had to sort of go internally and figure out like, who am I? Like really, who am I? Going back to that 20-year-old, like when I first came here, what is it that I love? What is it that I do apart from, as well as being a mum? Where's me? Where's me in all of that? And it's just been it was really interesting to follow that trail and find out.
And so you then, once you got all that sorted, no big deal. You started coaching other women who had found themselves in similar situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I always in my role, as I'd grown my career, I'd been a leader in, different roles. And in my last role, even more so was, definitely coaching on a certain level. And so coaching came very easily, very naturally to me. It always has. Like I've always been one of those people that people come to with questions or, how do I do this? Or I want to do that. And the more I was looking into my life and what it was that I wanted to do, I came up with it was just fun. I had a coach myself and we talked about, the possibilities, what's possible for me. And out of that came this word, Jotopia. And it was really fun to think of Jotopia as not as like a place full of toxic positivity with sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows all the time. That's absolutely not what it is. But Jotopia is a place where even on my darkest days, I can find the sun. And in my office here, I have a yellow bookshelf with a big orange sun on it to remind me of that. And so,
which I love, and you can't see, if you're listening, you can't see Jo's background, but she has this wonderful bright yellow bookcase, and the middle of it's sort of 3 sections, and the middle section doesn't have any shelves in it, but has this giant sun painted in the middle, and it's really cool. And I just cannot imagine being in that office and not feeling happy.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's my biggest thing is like, for me, what is it like to live in Jotopia? So how do I get to that point where, and I have had depression for many years without even really realizing it, but how can I get through that depression? What things can I focus on to pull me into Jotopia? And Jotopia is a place where I am living the life that I want to live, whatever that looks like. And to full transparency, I do still do some corporate work. Like I have a contract that I'm doing, but it's on my terms. It's the hours I want to work. It's very flexible. And at the same time, I'm growing my coaching. I'm growing my books at the same time. And so living in Jotopia for me is just this fun, evolving world. Of course, sometimes it's very scary. Of course, sometimes things happen. But even on my darkest days, I can find the sun. So I have this like mantra that I live by. And so the women I'm coaching, we find out, let's find the you in your utopia. What is it for you? For me, it's Jotopia and it's the sun. And so the dot of the I of Jotopia, the I is the sun. And what I do with that's just fun is like, what is that? What's that one thing for you that's always going to pull you back in? And let's like that make the dot of your utopia. And it's just fun to explore with other women, what is it that they want to have in their life that they don't have right now? And how do we get that?
I love that. And I want to talk about your most recent book, but before we get to that, take me through, you have got you started writing kids' books, and then you wrote one with your son that I just find this to be so incredible. Tell us a little bit about that evolution and, going from, how you started to write children's books and then writing the book with your son. I just think that that's so fascinating. And for those of you listening, I will put a link to this clip in the show notes, but Jo had a great segment on Good Morning America talking about the writing process with her son, and it's just really neat.
Thank you. Yeah. So the books were, I always had this children's book in my heart. Like I knew that I wanted to write a children's book. And to the point where I was even saying in meetings in corporate America, like we'd have a meeting and we'd do an icebreaker, and it was like 2 truths and a lie. And one of them was, for me was always like, I'm going to publish a children's book. And I just kept saying that. Didn't really know what it was going to be about. But then when furlough hit, this story just came to me. It was amazing. It was almost sort of dreamlike that this story just came. And it was called Tilly. It was about a little toad called Tilly Toad. And so my first book was Tilly Toad's Heavy Load. And all of my books are around social, emotional, learning. And that one is about, the power of positive thinking. Again, not toxic positivity, but the power of being able to change your thoughts slightly. And, how can we just change that a little bit to feel a little bit better? So that's what that one was all about. And just seeing my younger boys see me go through the process was so exciting, because they got so into it that I actually gave them positions in my company, because I thought, why not? Let's make this fun. So Ethan, he's now 13, so now it's kind of not as cool. But back then, when he was 10, or 10 or 11, he was my director of dreams, because he would not let me dream small. He refused to, if I said, oh, it's just a small book and we're just going to self-publish. He's like, no, Mom, this is going to be big. And, he had this vision for Tilly Toad. Still has this vision for Tilly Toad.
And aren't kids amazing that way? I mean, they sort of reopen all the possibilities. You know what I mean?
Anything's possible. Yeah. I mean, to the point where he was just like, he was, this is an animated series. This is, we even wrote a song, like he and I wrote a song for Tilly, because he sang it.
I love that.
He's a singer. So yeah, so he was my director of dreams. And so Joseph, who was 8 at the time, became my director of bear hugs and belly laughs, because he's just so joyful. He's just a happy child. And I said, again, I didn't hide from them the fact that I was starting this company, becoming an entrepreneur, didn't really know what I was doing. And there would be days when that's scary. And so I was sharing all of this with them. And I said, there are definitely going to be days where I need a hug. And so Joseph he's embodied that. Like he still comes to me now and will give me a hug when I need one. And that's my job. I'm the director of bear hugs and belly laughs.
I love that, bear hugs and belly laughs. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome. He loves it. And so with him, he has some undiagnosed health issues that we're still 6 years we've been trying to figure out what's going on. And it's for him, it's really hard. And for us, it's really hard. It's frustrating. And he also has, with that, some learning disabilities. So reading and writing in particular are really hard for him. Or challenging, let's say. And he's growing every day and getting through that every day. But in seeing me write Tilly Toad's Heavy Load, he suddenly was really interested in writing books. And it was just awesome the way it evolved, because he's gone from this child who literally would not raise his hand in the classroom for fear of being wrong, to now, like, he was interviewed by Good Morning America and he was fine. He's talking about his books. And so the book that he and I wrote together it's called We All Like Different Things, and that's A-OK with Me. And I actually think it's for a blended family. It's a perfect book, because it's like, hey, I don't like the same thing as you. You don't like the same thing as me, but that's okay. And I
love that message, especially in today's world,
Yeah. And he'd watched, where it came from, he'd watched the movie Trolls World Tour, where they all like different music. And so each group of trolls, like, are into different music. And we were in the car. I remember it vividly. And he was talking about that. And he's like, they all like different things and that's okay. And then he starts talking about our family, the 6 of us, and how we all like different things. And we're, an interracial family. So we're all very, we're all different and unique in our own ways. And so he said, we all like different things and that's A-okay with me. And that was his phrase that he came up with.
I love it. That's so cute.
I posted about it. I didn't really think about it being a book to start with. And I posted about it. And my friend who owns a bookshop in England responded right back. And she's like, that sounds like a book title to me. And from there, that just evolved. And Joseph had a book and we wrote a poem together. And yeah, it's been wonderful. And now it's helped him grow his confidence that you don't have to be able to physically write and spell and all of that correctly. You can be a storyteller. You don't have to be able to write it. Like we use speech to text a lot. And it's just, his imagination is incredible. And he has these awesome stories. We're now working on, he wants to write a chapter book now. And he has it in his head. It's The Secret Adventures of Boomer and Rang, the incredible time traveling twins. And he's just off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's
and how wonderful that you can foster that creative seed in him, and I mean, I feel like, especially, kids with special needs or who are maybe behind and, different things academically, they get really discouraged and, it's hard for them to sort of get out of that box. And I mean, it's so wonderful that this process has enabled him to really embrace his creativity, even when, if he hadn't been thinking outside the box, that would have been really hard for him. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you. It has. It really has been just so joyful to watch him evolve and grow. And he's so confident. And to the point, we're having an event in December. I'm doing a book launch party for my latest book. And it's a fundraiser. It's turned into this big fundraising gala. And Joseph said, he's like, can I sign books? Can I take my books and sell my books? I was like, of course you can, so he now loves these big events where before he used to absolutely hate them.
That's amazing. How wonderful.
Yeah. Really nice.
And so then you and Ethan wrote a book also.
We did. Yeah. So there was a book called, it's called Take That Fear. You Can't Keep Up With Me. And it was more so based on a story an actual event that Ethan and I had happen. I had read, Fear is My Homeboy by Judy Holler. And actually, I know her pretty well. She's wonderful. She coached me for a while. And it's all about not saying I'm fearless, but making fear your friend. And so, listening to the voice of fear and saying, okay, I recognize you. And now digging deep into your heart and finding the voice of courage. And so we had a situation happen that we went through. And I actually used some of Judy's coaching with Ethan because he had some pretty high anxiety to coach him through this, listening, learning to, what's fear telling you and can you hear the voice of courage and what's courage telling you? And so from that, again, we wrote a poem and, that's his story and that's his book. So it's been
I love it. Okay. It's amazing. Now I have to ask you, do the other 2 kids feel left out that they haven't gotten to write a book with mom?
That's a really good question. Well, quite honest, it has been really interesting because they're older. And so they definitely have seen a completely different mom. So it's like we have 2 families and it's like the mom, and I do have, I'm working through it, but I have guilt around that because the mom I was to them is very different to the mom I am now to my younger 2. And, I'm not ashamed to say I'm in therapy. I go to therapy every other week and we still talk about that because it's something I carry with me. If I could have been this mom, then how would they be now? But you can't live your life like that. But they do. No. They do laugh and they'll be like, Mom, you're so more, you're far more chilled out than you ever were.
Which I think is every oldest child's complaint, right? That by the time you get to the last child, you're like, oh, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about Mama Bear, because this is a book that when you look at the cover, other than the language, it looks like a kid's book, but it is not. It's a book aimed at moms. So Mama Bear, Dear Mama Bear with the effed up hair. So tell me about that and how you kind of came up with it. It's a really, and for those of you listening, I will put the links to all of Jo's books in the show notes, and definitely check out Mama Bear, because the illustrations are wonderful and kind of the way it's written is really creative, but it's got a lovely message. So tell us a little bit about that and how that came to you.
Yeah, thanks. This one, honestly, like, I love the children's books, but this one has my heart. And this is, I think this is where I'm now going with where I'm evolving with other books that I will write. It's all about, mental health awareness, particularly for moms. And, I was at that point where, as we said, I kind of got to this point of like, in my late 40s, what am I doing? Who am I? Realizing I'd been in this depression. And I felt the calling to like write about it, to write a book. And so I'd started writing this book, and it was more of a, a self-help sort of book. And I suddenly stopped and I was like, if I'm writing this for someone like me, I'm not going to sit down and read a self-help book. I don't have time. Nor do I really want to sit and read that. And so I thought, well, how can I make this, like, I wanted to talk about depression. I wanted to talk about how hard it is to be a mum and how wonderful it is to be a mum. And I wanted it to be in a manner that was light, that had humor to it. And so I honestly, again, it was one of those that it just came to me. I didn't like force it, but I did have the thought of like, wouldn't it be funny to write a picture book for mums? Like, because isn't it time that we're tucked into bed? Isn't it time that we're told a story?
I know, right?
And so that just evolved. And then Dear Mama Bear with the effed up hair just came. And it's just, I love the way that I take the reader from like the mum at the very beginning with the perfect hair and the perfect nails and everything. And quite frankly, I was never that mum, to be very honest. But like, I think I wished in the early days that I was that mum. But it, as you go through the story, and again, it's a poem, she gets progressively worse and her hair just gets to the point where it is effed up. But then at the end, it's about letting go. It's about letting go of all of that and just being present with your family and being present with yourself. And I kept that. I did have a couple of people say to me, like, are you sure about that title? Like, that's really risque. And like, you're going to turn some people off. And I said, some people said, well, maybe you should say Dear Mama Bear with the messed up hair. And I was like, I wouldn't read that book. Like, it has to be shocking. Like, it's got to be something that's going to make you go, wow, hold on, I want to look at that. And,
I think that's right. Because I think when we get so so in that place, and as stepmoms, we call it our bathroom floor moments. You get there. It's not that your hair's messed up, that you have a few hairs out of place. It's that it is effed up. I mean, it is that sort of really severe, your bathroom floor moment,
Yeah. There's a page in the book, or there's a spread that talks about, you cry in your closet curled up in a ball. Like, I think we've all been there.
We've all been there. Yeah.
Yeah. Still there, to be very honest. Like, there are still times where I'll just shut the closet door because it's safe and that's my space to either scream or cry or, get it out.
There's so much in this book that I think I think any parent, whether you're a biological mom, an adoptive mom, a stepmom, you're going to relate to this, because especially, the thing that really struck me is the woman at the beginning of the book. And she's like, well, when I have kids, it's going to be perfect and things are going to be neat and they won't behave that way and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Well, let me tell you, as stepmoms, I mean, you come into this and you're like, you have all of these. I mean, for me, it was holidays. I was like, well, this is awesome. I got these 4 stepkids and, we're getting the monogrammed Christmas stockings and Easter baskets and it's going to be perfect. And I'm going to make all my family recipes for Thanksgiving. And that is just not how it went. I mean, and that's so normal. You know what I mean? It's like you get into this and it is so different. So I loved that you kind of got into this, whether you're a biological mom or a stepmom or whatever your situation is, you never really know what it's going to be like when you're in the trenches until you're like knee deep,
Exactly. And then, quite honestly, the only thing you can do is focus on you. And that's one of the lines, is like, focus on you, keep your dreams in line. And you can be the best. When you are the best version of you, that will emanate from you. And then, that's then going to affect everyone else around you. But that was my biggest learning, is stop trying to fix it for everybody else, and stop trying, get rid of that perfectionist that still is in the background with me. But like, get rid of that and just focus on being happy and finding joy within myself. That's been the biggest.
Such a wonderful message. And it's certainly not, I think that society, really does try to tell women that you can have this balance and you can have it all and you can do it all. And then as a result, we all put ourselves in these pressure cookers where, like, if we get one thing wrong or if one thing slips through the cracks, we just beat ourselves up. And, that's just it's not healthy for any of us, right? And so I think the underlying message of this, that like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's okay if, you have toys on the floor, or, dinner's not ready on time. Like, cut yourself some slack here,
Let go. Yeah, seriously. Like, because that's at the end of the day, like, as especially with kids, like, they're not going to remember like that the house was tidy. They're going to remember, like, my older boys, like, they now see me being so much more chilled out. And so that's what they remember, is like the energy that I'm giving off versus like the surroundings. They're not taking all of that in.
That's so true. And we beat ourselves up over all of that. I know when I was a new stepmom, I think it was like maybe, I was actually, I think a month or so before our wedding, I threw a birthday party for one of my stepdaughters. And I went nuts. Like, it was Pinterest perfect. Like, we did an under the sea theme, and it was like, I had little, goldfish crackers and little triangles of cheese that were called shark's teeth, and I had the signs and the mermaid cake and the place where the kids could take photos. It was ridiculous. And I remember Craig saying to me at the time, like, what are you doing? Like, this is insane. And I was like, no, it has to be perfect. She deserves a perfect birthday party, and I want it all to be, and Craig was like, it does not, she's not going to remember this in 10 years,
Right.
And you know what? He was right. She remembers the party, and she remembers having fun, which is good. All good things. She does not remember, or she did not see how stressed out I was trying to make it perfect, but
trying to make it,
but it's crazy looking back on it, because kids remember how they felt. They don't necessarily remember whether everything was in place or, any of that
They
stuff.
don't. It's all about the feeling that they had. Yeah.
It's all about the feeling. And I think we lose sight of that all the time.
We definitely do. And I have a very similar story about a birthday cake. Like, I had been away in, at the time, the company I was working for, their corporate office is in DC. I'm in Atlanta. So I'd been away for a whole week. Was stressed out anyway, because being away as a mom, that's another thing, working mom with young kids at home. And I was determined. It was Ethan's birthday this Saturday when I got home, and we were having a birthday party. And I was just adamant that I had to make the cake. I had to make the cake, and I had to make the cupcakes. My mom was here from England at the time. She's like, Jo, just go and buy a cake. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I was like, no, I'm making this cake. I got back on Friday night, late into Atlanta, flew in. Of course, my car had broken down. Like, I turned the key, the battery's dead. Everything that could have happened, to the point where I didn't get home until like 11:30 at night. I still got up that next morning and made a bloody cake. I'm like, what is wrong with, and Ethan doesn't remember that. But, and the kids, and I was even like, trying to hand out these cupcakes and thinking they were so amazing. They weren't that good. It's like, I could have just saved so much time and stress and just gone and bought something,
Yeah.
I don't know why.
But, then we feel like a failure. It's crazy the amount of pressure we put on ourselves. Yeah. It's crazy. Well, I'm so thankful that you are out there talking to women about this and, helping them find their own utopia. And these books are just fantastic. So,
thank you.
Stepmoms that are listening, I'm going to put links in the show notes. Get Jo's books. These are all fantastic. I think they all have applications for blended families and for women in general, and kids in general. So, Jo, where can people find you?
Thank you. Yes. So my website is livinginjotopia.com. And my Instagram handle is the same, @livinginjotopia. And those are the two. I'm mainly just on Instagram. I am on Facebook as well, but Instagram's the best place to hang out.
And I'll tell you, Jo has a really fun Instagram account. She goes on live quite a bit and talks to you. And I always love when I pull up Instagram and you're live and I can visit. So thank you so much for joining us. This was so fun, Jo. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me, Cameron. I really enjoyed it.
That's it for this week. If you've enjoyed our chat, I hope you'll help spread the word. Share this episode with friends and head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts and leave me a review. And don't forget, for more great stepmom content, head on over to thiscustomlife.com and follow me on social media. Just search This Custom Life on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Until next time, you keep being you and know that we are in this together. See you here next week.